Friends, today we continue with part 3 of a series that we launched on the first Sunday entitled The Will Series. We started the series with the idea of focusing on the will to transcend. Last week we talked about the will to transmit. Today we will continue with an idea, the will to transform. And this is an esoteric metaphysical study of the teachings of Jesus and his 8th disciple. And we understand here in Unity that when we speak of such, we are not speaking necessarily of any historical or theological figure. We are speaking of a power and a presence, a faculty within ourselves. For Jesus Christ, as we were reminded last week, was not a man that we're talking about. We're talking about the mastermind, the God-conscious mind in man, in woman. Are we clear? The 8th disciple is Matthew, who represents will. It is our ability, our power, our God-given gift to will and to bring forth into our life, world, and affairs that which our soul longs to experience. The deep longings of the soul is ultimately the universe. It is God tapping at the door of the soul saying, open up and let me bring this good through. And will, your 8th disciple, is there to serve us and to work with us. For divine will is that ability, the power to receive the gifts of life, the gifts of the universe, the gifts of God. And as we focus on this will to transform, we are reminded that every activity, every individual, every character, every geographical location that you read about in sacred texts in the anthology that we call the Bible, that is it represents a phase of being, a phase of consciousness. And I would dare say that any sacred text that you find yourself drawn to, whether it is the anthology that we call the Bible, or whether it's the Kabbalah, or the Bhagavad Gita or the Quran, if you can find yourself in those sacred texts and find that sacred text within yourself, friends, it leads us to a level of divine and spiritual mastery. And that is what we are here to do. You do know that we are in class, don't you? Oh, you didn't know that. Life is the classroom. And every experience, every moment is our session. I was told many years ago when I started in ministry, I was told, Jack, pass every test. Meaning be conscious, be aware, be awake, be ready. So that when the moment comes as an opportunity for you to step up a little higher as a spiritual being, that you can seize the moment. Carpe diem. Seize the day. Carpe momentus. Seize the moment. Carpe secundus. Seize the second. And rise up on the wind, on the wings of spirit that lives, moves, and breathes itself as you. And stand as a great expression of the divine here on earth. Divine will, the will to transform. And friends, we understand there is a difference between change and transformation. You do know that. To change something is to alter it. I mean, we can change the attire, right? Some of you, when you leave this place today, you may change your apparel. You go surfing, or you go to the beach, or you go out to eat, whatever you choose to do. How many of you will probably change your clothes at some point today? Yeah, you're going to change. But that doesn't necessarily suggest transformation, does it? It's just a change of the outer. To change something is to slightly alter it. Change, or to change, can be incremental. Change can be subtle. Change can also be huge. Change is maintained with thought, with effort, with persistence. But transformation goes deep. It is rooted in something so profound, something so much bigger and greater than anything outside of ourselves. Transformation is an inside job. Change, when we typically change, we're working on the outer expression. But when we transform, as Paul says, be not conformed. Be not conformed to this world on the outer. Don't try to change yourself to conform to the world on the outer, but be ye transformed by how? The renewing of the only way we can experience transformation is by renewing our mind. And if we think otherwise, we are fooling ourselves. Transformation starts with the renewal of the mind. To renew means to make new again. That means that it was new in the beginning. But what often happens is that we allow the social entities and forces and all of these things outside of us to influence us and condition us to believe that we are something other than God walking around here on earth. And when we believe that, we have put on all of these labels. We wear labels. Oh, we wear so many labels. I'm this, I'm that. Those are labels to simply give a description to how we're showing up in the universe. But the truth of you transcends any label. And when we come into the awareness of who God is in us and who we are in God, you won't need any more labels. You just stand as a great spiritual being. I am life showing up today. The will to transform. Transformation is big. It's always big. And if it's not big, it's not transformation. Transformation requires a drastic shift. It means that it has to totally change. We can change the atmosphere here in this sacred text. And do you know that we are in the process of transformation here at Unity Church of Hawaii? Whether you know it or not, it is fact. We can put paint on the walls. That's change. But when we tear down the walls and build it up anew, that's transformation. Consciousness must be accommodated. Oh, I cannot drive this one enough. Consciousness must, will you say this with me? Consciousness must be accommodated. The master teacher says you cannot put new wine in old wineskins. You cannot put new consciousness in an old container because the container is not powerful enough to contain it, to hold it. Just as you cannot put a new piece of fabric on an old garment because the two will not meet. Matthew represents our will faculty. And as we learned last week, Matthew is the manipulator of the soul. Oh, yes. Matthew was the tax collector. Matthew was the great money, accountant. And that Matthew is within us. It is that part of us that always seek to manipulate to get our way. And if you have one in your household, maybe you rode to church with them today, who are always seeking to manipulate, dominate, or control to have their way, call their Matthew under submission. Spiritualize their Matthew and say, Matthew, come follow me. When the master teacher called out to Matthew and said, come follow me, it means come follow the God idea. Come follow the good idea. Come follow the master idea. Matthew, you must become spiritualized. If not, Matthew will try to manipulate everybody and mess up everything. The road or the tool, the process of transformation requires three essential tools. I'll give them to you rather quickly. The first tool that we are required to use and to put to use in the process of transformation, and I sense that there's probably one or two in here this morning who's going through transformation in your life. And it might not be easy. In fact, it might even be challenging. For one, it might be the most challenging experience that you've had to deal with thus far on your path. But I want you to be encouraged, and prayerfully these tools will help you. The first tool that we need, that we're called to exercise in the process of transformation, is the tool of presence. We are called to be present. To be in what Dr. Wayne Dyer calls, to be in the now. To be in the here and now. Transformation occurs in the present. And what often happens, and I encourage you to just be aware of this, be conscious of this week, just be conscious of how many people around you are stuck in the past. And you can tell if they're stuck in the past. They're always talking about the past. They're talking about what used to be, what happened then, what happened last month, last year, who was there, how good it was, how rough it was, how challenging it was. They are stuck in the past, and they don't even realize that they're expired. To be present means to be current, to be hip, to be now, in the vernacular of our younger generation. It's to be on what's happening now. Transformation calls us and commissions us to let the past be pow. Finished. Over. Done with. And for those of you who may not know what pow means in the Hawaiian culture, language, it means finished. The only way that we can transform in the moment, in the now of life, is to be in the now of life. Most people are so stuck in what has already occurred. And the life world, the universe is still going on. The birds are still singing, earth is still rotating around the sun, the trees are still blooming, the flowers are still emitting fragrances, and we're missing it because we are stuck in the past. Will you shout it out? Let the past be pow. Let the past be pow. Oh, say it with a wow. Let the past be pow. The second tool that we're called to exercise in this process of transformation, friends, if you can catch this, there's more truth caught than taught. If you can catch it, it will really help you transform your life. And most people are really stuck in what has happened. They're stuck in their story. They keep retelling their story and don't realize that the retelling of their story is the recreation of your story. You see, nothing can live in our experience unless we give it oxygen. And the attention that we give it is our oxygen. When I talk about stuff that I've gone through that I don't want to go through again, I am calling it unconsciously forth back into my experience, and then unconsciously I will find myself reliving it and wonder, why is it showing up again? The second tool that we're called to exercise is the tool of persistence. To persist, to continue to do something even though it is difficult, and even though other people won't like it. So what? Do it anyhow. If it's leading you to greater transformation, do it anyhow. Persistence, staying the course. Just like the businessman who was trying to transform his body. He felt that if he transformed his body, he could transform his life. He changed his eating habits. He was dieting, and there in a moment, he drove by Leonard's Bakery. He had a moment, and we all have these moments on the road of transformation. And as he was driving up by Leonard's Bakery, somehow his car just turned into the parking lot. And he began to pray, oh Lord, I'm trying to transform myself. Oh Lord, if you just help me right now. I'm feeling a little weak right now. Please, if it's not thy will that I eat malasadas, please don't let there be a parking space for me. The man drove into Leonard's Bakery parking lot, and sure enough, there was no parking space. And he decided to drive around the block one more time. Drove around the block, found the car going right back up into Leonard's Bakery parking lot. He began to pray the same prayer. Oh, Lord, I'm trying to transform. Oh, Lord, I'm trying to hold out. Oh, Lord, you know I'm on this diet and I don't need to eat malasadas. But, oh, Lord, if you just help me out. If it's not that will, please don't let there be a parking space. Sure enough, the man drove back up in the parking space, up in the parking lot, and there was no parking space. But then because he was so persistent, he drove around 8 more times until a parking space opened up. And he found himself drawn to malasadas at Leonard's Bakery while on his diet, trying to transform his body, to transform his life. Persistence is being willing to stay the course. And when your soul points you on the course, puts you on a direction that's leading to a better life, as Dr. Barbara King says in the title of her book, that's leading you to transform your life, you stay the course regardless of what comes. I don't care if you go by Leonard's Bakery, don't look. Get tunnel vision. Drive the other way. Go the other route. You got to know thyself. To thy own self be true. That is the key to mastery. To thy own self be true. The third tool that we're called to use and required to use in this process of transformation is patience. And that's a tool that most of us are probably working on. That's probably the tool that most people get stuck on. Wouldn't you agree? Patience. The ability to trust and just know that things are going to work out. It's working out and giving it time. Transformation doesn't happen overnight. I had a piece of paper here. Patience. I like this definition of patience. Patience is a calm endurance based on the certain knowledge that God is in control. I'll say it again. Patience is a calm endurance based on a certain knowledge that God is in control. Some of us are really challenged with this third tool, patience, waiting, like the little boy who was traveling with his mother. And he constantly asked his mother the same questions that we ask. Are we almost there yet? Are we there yet? When are we going to get there, Mom? Over and over, the boy just kept asking his mother, Mom, are we there yet? When are we going to get there? How many of you have asked that question in your own life? Am I there yet? When am I going to get there? When is this going to be over? When is this going to change? And the mother finally got to the point where she had enough, and she said, son, listen, we still have 90 more miles to go, so please don't ask me that question anymore. And the child was there, and he was concerned and quiet, entered the silence. And timidly he asked this question. He says, Mom, will I still be 4 when we get there? Patience is a virtue. Friends, the acorn doesn't turn into an oak tree overnight. The tadpole doesn't become a frog overnight. The silkworm doesn't become a butterfly overnight. Mighty eagles don't gather their strength overnight. Some things take time. Some things we have to wait on. And while we're waiting, learning just to be patient, calmly enduring the moment, knowing that God is in charge. And the best gift you can give yourself at times is self, just be patient. Why don't you tell yourself that right now? Call yourself by name and say it. Jack, be patient. Be patient. Don't rush. You get in a hurry, you mess everything up. You've done it before. How many of you ever gotten in a hurry, you messed up everything? You got impatient, couldn't wait. Couldn't wait in line. You couldn't wait in traffic. You just got in a hurry. But there's a song that James Cleveland, the godfather of gospel music, wrote many years ago. And he asked one of the great gospel singers, Albertina Walker, who did backup singing for Mahalia Jackson. And she was part of the Caravan Sisters with Shirley Caesar and Dorothy Norwood. And James Cleveland put words to the music. I would just like to share a little bit of that with you. Is that okay? Will you be patient with me? Will you be patient? Well, if you can, come on. Patient with me. God is not through with me yet. Please be patient with me. God is not through with me yet. Oh, when God gets through with me, when God gets through with me, I shall come forth. I shall patient with me. God is not through with me yet. No, no, when God gets through with me, when God gets through with me, I shall come forth, I shall come forth as pure gold. Take it. Please be patient with me. God is not through with me yet. You gotta encourage yourself. Please be patient with me. God is not through with me yet. Oh, when God gets through with me, when God gets through with me, I shall come forth.